Well, welcome to One Tough Podcast. I'm joined here, like always, with my man Carlo.
Good
Today,
morning.
we're here speaking about current events and answering audience questions. We got our new home. How beautiful is this place, Carlo?
It's awesome.
This is the Hackensack Meridian Health Stage 17. Look at this place. LED lights. Man, I feel like I'm doing a movie. I feel like I'm doing The Irishman here. Marty Scorsese, you over there? This is unbelievable.
It's an
great.
unbelievable new studio. We are here in our new home at the OG Podcast Network. We're going to continue to put out our show on a weekly basis. We're working on resuming our live stream, so that'll be ready soon. But we're really excited about this move. We're on a bigger and better platform, and we're going to keep it coming, keep doing great things here on One Tough Podcast.
Well, you know, we're really here, and I've been in the studio for a long time with ABC from Imus in the morning to Sid and Bernie, and it's just exciting. I feel like this place is home, and my man Chad Lopez there, the boss of the operation, is a very dear friend, and he's very supportive of us, and let's make it the big one. You know, this is a podcast. I'm glad that we've gotten out of the basement. You had me in a basement on 6th Street, Carlo. Now at least we elevated the class. Notice I wore a new suit today, Carlo.
Yeah, I got to wear a jacket every show now.
The last place you had me in was a basement on 6th Street. You had more drug addicts in there. Every week you'd bring another guest. One guy was a heroin addict. One guy's a pothead. I mean, Carlo, it's Bo Dietl. What are you doing?
Right. So now, we're up in the big building. We're in the big studio, so we're going to get better and bigger guests, and people are going to like the show more. And,
Well, we
have a good following. We like our audience. We like everybody that listens and tunes in. So stay tuned. We're going to have some big announcements soon. We got some really great shows lined up for the next couple months.
And we're going to have some really great guests again. We have, how many episodes in the can, Carlo?
We have about 36. So we got our archives. You can listen to our old episodes and stay tuned for the new ones. We got.
How can they go listen to our old archives?
It's all on our. Check out our Twitter at One Tough Podcast. Follow us up. We're on iTunes. We're everywhere you can listen to podcasts. You can get back to our archives and stay tuned for our new episodes.
Great. So let's
get right into this because we got some.
Wait. There's one thing important. And a lot of things happened yesterday. You know, we had the president over there in Vietnam. And then you had my friend Michael Cohen. I call him my friend in a facetious way because I know Michael Cohen for 12 years, 13, 15 years, whatever. And I know him very well, put it that way. And during this whole time when he became a rat, I had conversations with him many times. And he actually said to me on numerous occasions that he was really pissed off at the president for not giving him a job in the White House as chief of staff or counsel to the president. And you know what? It comes down to my friend Donald Trump by having him around. You know, I remember when he first started coming into play, Cohen, he was doing stuff for nothing. He just wanted to be around Donald Trump.
So let's back up a little bit. So let's just give some context. So yesterday, Michael Cohen went in front of Congress to this time tell the truth. He was already convicted for lying to Congress. But yesterday, he went in front of Congress he said he set the record straight and talk about his relationship with Donald Trump. He's already been convicted for various charges. He's looking at 3 years in jail. So he went in front of Congress.
He was facing 70.
Yeah. So in front of the House Oversight Committee, he was there all day. And you tweeted out something yesterday.
Well, before we go there, let's put the platform out there. The fact of the matter is that they got him on perjury on a lot of stuff, and then he was using, after the president got elected, he was using his friendship with the president to get clients, saying that he had access to the president of the United States,
right,
and he was getting millions of dollars. So he was selling like T-shirts. That's the way I could describe it, of President Trump, that he had this full access, which was not Trump, which is not true. And I think President Trump, if he was even considering doing something for him, he said, what are you doing? You know, one thing about Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, who I know 40 years, he doesn't like when people play with his name. And I think that was the disconnect there. And then when Cohen said to me on numerous occasions, well, I'm pissed off. I should have been the chief of staff or counsel to the president. Well, I tell you what, I'm not going to protect him. I'm going to protect me and my family, and I'll do whatever I got to do. Now, what does whatever I got to do mean? I think you saw it yesterday. It wasn't just testimony. He was trying to hurt the President of the United States every way he could, upside down and all around. And I just got angry, and I then tweeted out around, I don't know, what time was that about?
I think it was late yesterday morning.
After I was watching them, and I tweeted out, and what was my tweet?
You said you were getting sick of watching these hearings, that you know Michael Cohen personally for many years, and he was expressed to you that he was very angry and upset that he was not able to get a White House job because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, during the campaign he thought he was going to get this big role.
Yeah, but the whole thing was this, Carlo. He was very specific, saying that he was angered because he didn't get a job. And then when he was in the testimony before the United States Congress, he said, "Oh, I wouldn't work for Donald Trump. He's too slimy. He's too sleazy. He's a bigot. He's a racist." And when I heard that, I just got so angry. That's when I tweeted it out. And I tell you the truth, what happened with that tweet?
It was actually entered into the congressional record by Representative Mark Meadows, because he wanted to, show that people were showing that Cohen did want a job in the White House, and he was angry and upset because it wasn't just you. A lot of people did weigh in on that.
And then Representative Mark Meadows actually put it into the congressional record. And then all of a sudden, what happened? How many viewers did we have?
Got close to 1 million. It got several thousand likes, retweets, and comments. I mean, it just kind of went viral just by you telling the truth about what you knew about.
Well, there's no reason for me to lie. It's just that I know the two parties, and I tell you what,
so I mean, that gives you some unique perspective, because not a lot of people have this kind of up close and personal view.
Well, the thing is this: if I got a subpoena from the House of Representatives committee there, I have no problem to swear me in. One thing I always teach you, my friend, is you always tell the truth. And I tell that to cops on the street when you take police actions. Did you hit the person with your radio? Did you strike them? If you did it, you say, "Yeah, I did it." What was the reason? You were trying to get him handcuffed. You were trying to control your prisoner. Do not lie. Do not deny. And that's the way I think everyone should get through with life, is when you tell the truth and the reasoning behind why you did what you did, people can understand it. And I kind of keep my whole reputation as being an honest. Some people don't like what I say sometimes with my honesty, but I'm very honest and very truthful about what I talk about.
Yeah, because a code of ethics, you have a personal code. It seems like from just watching the Cohen testimony, I'm not really caring one way or the other, that he did seem like he has an agenda. It seems like he's got an axe to grind. And, he kind of is making it seem that all the years that he did work for Trump, he did it kind of like at gunpoint.
Yeah, but why did he work for him for 10 years?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
If you were so unsatisfied, you were so unhappy with your job, why'd you stay for 10 years? And that's something that people take into.
Yeah, and like his whole, how he came into play, maybe you can know better than I do, but he wanted to get Trump's attention back in the early 2000s.
I think it was around 2006, something like that.
Yeah.
But the fact is, and I guarantee
he ingratiated himself.
I guarantee you, he was doing work for Donald. I remember hearing, that's Cohen. Oh, that's Michael Cohen. He's a wacko. That was what I remember.
Really?
Because he would always be out there. Then he would speak on behalf of the president during the campaign. And I even said to people from the campaign, "What is this guy talking for behalf of the president?" I mean, in reality, you watched him yesterday. He's a meltdown. He's a meltdown little person that's beat up. He's
It seemed like he was very just drained. It looked like on his face he was
sapitaceous, they called it. It's all sap out of him, all that energy. So he's a sapitaceous individual. And in reality, this ain't over. He alluded to the Southern District of New York City investigating other aspects. And the thing people don't understand, he got caught up with his taxi scams. He got caught up not paying taxes. He got caught up in a lot of personal stuff that had nothing to do with President Trump, and yet he's trying to ride to get the deal done and get a better deal now. Don't be mistaken. What you saw yesterday is part and effect with developing more information against President Trump, hoping that 3 years could get milled down again. So
or
that's
also
what
to
it's
make
all
sure they
about.
don't go after his family or anybody like that, because if anyone had knowledge of his, his changing around the books and values of stuff, they could be subject to prosecution. I mean, we know that that's how the federal government operates. They lean on everybody.
Well, the federal government, when they take your friend Sammy Gravano that killed 19 people and they give him a play, and then also they take your other friend, John Alite, whatever his name. The guy said he knew me, who I never met in my life, and they take them and they use them as star witnesses. I think he killed 11. The other guy killed 19, and these are the star witnesses of the government. The thing is that in reality, you get substantiation. When someone says something, you got to get, like even when we do the Me Too investigations.
Or any investigation.
Well, the Me Too investigations, part of my thing is, we have Title VII people that investigated, and we're coming out with that next week. And our listeners are going to be really excited about for corporations and for employees to get their tales of woe heard, an independent investigation for aspects of sexual harassment, discrimination in corporations. But part of my thing when I do investigations, I like to get some context. I like to get some witnesses. I like to get some emails or text messages to give some credibility to allegations, and that's part of an investigation. Get some side. Don't just take one person, especially one person who has been a convicted perjurer. How can you use that as the context of your case? You can't do that. You got to get corroboration.
Right. So, I mean, what we're seeing yesterday is a lot of Cohen talking about Donald Trump's character,
right? He's calling him a racist. He's calling him this,
but there's really no smoking gun or anything that shows any actual, concrete evidence.
Look, I gave Donald Trump money, and I'm not going to hide it either. For his campaign, I think it was $50,000. Again, I know him 40 years. Is he a narcissist? Yes. Does he not tell the truth all the time? He embellishes the truth, and he does say little lies too. But with all that said, I support him 100% for his actions of trying to get things done. This guy hopped on a plane all the way to Vietnam to try to make some sort of deal. When he felt as though this guy wanted too much, he just walked away. That shows his character. Another guy like President Obama would have made the deal and came back looking for a ticket tape parade. Trump walked out and said, no, if you don't, we're not lifting the sanctions unless we're able to get in there. And that's it. I applaud him 100%. He doesn't just do it for the attaboy. He wanted that deal to be done right. And if anything, that North Korean President Kim knows that he's dealing with a guy who's very, very smart. Everything that President Trump's been doing with the economy, with the tariffs, everything we're doing is so advanced, but people don't want to look at it.
I mean, no one's paying attention to the economy. I mean, we had a great month. The Dow hit a record, and
employment.
Employment's up. Everything's up. If you look at the actual fundamentals of the economy, but people want to pick at little things that really aren't that important.
I've been in communication with the White House in the last week or so, and there's a situation in Chicago that's it's going crazy again. The murders are up and crazy, and for some reason, it's not a story. They just run this nonsense, this Michael Cohen. I got African Americans being gunned down. I think they're up to over 60 this year already in Chicago. No one cares about the little girl, 7 years old, African-American little girl shot in the head. My whole life has been worrying about people being killed and being victims of crimes. I am in communication with the White House, and I want to talk about it now, but I want to do something to try to help those people being gunned down. There are answers, Carlo. This thing doesn't have to continue.
Well, yesterday there was another in other congressional news, there was a bill passed requiring universal background checks on gun purchases.
Yeah.
So do you think that's a good place to start?
Oh, I like that. I like the background checks. But you know what, Carlo? The guns that are killing people in Chicago are not legal guns. These are illegal guns. So let's not mix it up. But I am 100%. Also, a lot of people don't like me to say it. I'd like to have a little bit of a curb on assault weapons, too. Is it really necessary? We have to meet halfway. Not all the way to the left, not all the way to the right. And then when you get the issues, what's going on, and you can see 47% for, 47 against. I'm talking about, I'm not anti-abortion. I'd be a hypocrite if I sat here and said I was. But I certainly am against a baby being born where the mother has the opportunity to kill the baby. If you don't want that baby, there are people that work their whole lives trying to have kids. You could adopt that child. I feel for that baby that's fully formed. And when you say that you can rip that baby out that's fully formed and just kill the baby. We got to realize one thing. There was something in the paper yesterday. A rat was stuck in the sewer in Germany. He was stuck in the sewer, and they went to save the friggin' rat. And I mean, a rat. Now, what about a little baby? I'm a father of 4. I'm a grandfather. I'm not one of these hallelujah right-wing nuts. All I say is that, when it's really a life, we got to really think about it. When you listen to this Ocasio and you listen to this governor from Virginia, even Mario Cuomo's son there, what's his first
Andrew.
name? Andrew. He's a good friend of mine. Andrew Cuomo. You better think about, before you start passing these bills, think about that child who has no right. Now it's a child. It's not just a fetus. It's a child. And I'm not one of these hallelujah guys, but I'm talking about the bill where after a baby's born, they can not take care of the baby and not revive the baby and let the baby die. No. We got to really come from right, left, meet in the moderate, in the middle, and take these issues and come up with answers.
But it's happening all across the board. And you use this as an example. You use the gun bill as an example.
Yeah.
But it seems like politics are getting very extreme on both ends.
Yeah, I mean the extremities of the right are as bad as the extremities of the left. And we see one thing, my Democratic friends, because in reality, I don't even call myself a Republican or a Democrat. I call myself as an independent. But there has to be more moderate, especially in the Democratic Party, with these psychopaths. That nut barmaid from Queens, this psycho woman, and then you have the other psycho from Vermont. You have the other psycho from Virginia. All these crazy left-wing idiots. Well, why don't they just? I'll say it right on the air. I'll pay for a trip for Ocasio-Cortez, whatever her name is. I'll pay for a trip right now. Even I'll bump it up to first class. I'd like to take her to Venezuela and watch her act. And I'd like to see, when you watch people eating out of garbage trucks, that's what's going on right now. This was one of the richest countries in the Western Hemisphere.
Has some of the largest oil reserves anywhere.
And that just shows you what happens with socialism. I mean, socialism is a great project, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And we have to be smart with us. We have to let this country live for at least another 200, 300 years. We had pretty good 200 years building this country. Great things have happened. The whole thing with civil rights is wonderful. The whole thing with equal, everybody's the same. This is wonderful. Oh, do we have problems? Did we go through problems? Certainly, I didn't do it. When you have a guy that jumps ugly and all of a sudden starts talking about reparations back in the slave, I didn't have no slaves, and I think slavery's horrible. But when you start talking about we got to start giving money out for things that happened 150 years ago, I have nothing to do with it. Right now is what we should be talking about. We should help educate, and we just showed you what happened in New York City with this lefty mayor. When I ran for mayor, I was talking about it. These kids were graduating high school, highest rates ever. They can't read and write, Hispanic and black students mostly. And I said, what are we doing for them? They can't pass a college entrance. And now we find out billion is wasted with de Blasio's school system that he talked about with these new schools. The reality is we're talking a lot of crap. The students in the systems of school systems have to be able to be educated properly, Carlo. And the point is, by graduating, you're not helping them. You're not helping them.
Right. So the whole running thread through this whole thing is that you can't double down on bad ideas.
Yeah.
It seems like, that's what's happening in the national conversation. You're having, if a left kind of idea doesn't work, they want to make it 3 times more left.
Right, and you know what scares me, Carlo? A lot of people, probably 95% of the people in America are struggling.
Right.
Truly struggling. And that gives an opening for these psychopathic left-wing nuts to possibly have some sort of insertion of getting those people to vote, because they'll say, wow, they promised me this, and if you don't want to work, you still get paid. And I mean,
So
they're
that's
listening
another
to this.
issue that's being talked about is universal basic income. It was in Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Right, and it's also talking about
if you're unwilling to work.
Do you have a
they just
savings
say,
account, Carlo?
Yes, and there's not much in it, but I have one.
Well, you know what? I don't think I have one either. But listen, they want to be able, people who've worked hard and saved money, they want to be able to go in there and take some of your savings out. You pay taxes on it and share it with everybody. I mean, think about it. But you know what? It sells good to the 95% of the people in America that are not making ends meet, struggling. They say, hey, I could get free stuff again. So there's a sure chance that our country could go to hell in a handbag. You ever hear that expression?
Yeah.
Well, it looks like the handbag could come about.
So, I mean, we're talking about the country as a whole, but yet a couple days ago in New York, we had a special election for public advocate, and the person who won, Jumaane Williams, who's a councilman, portrays himself as more left than de Blasio, and he was able to get 33% of the vote, and he wants to do things that are even more radical than someone like de Blasio, who is a progressive.
First of all, public advocate is a do-nothing job, even though we saw do-nothing de Blasio come out of it. Then we saw my friend Letitia James, who I happen to personally like. Letitia James. She's the Attorney General in New York State, and then she was a public advocate too. So it's a good stepping stone. But I mean, you just got to just follow this Jumaane Williams. Follow his career. I mean, this is to me, he needs a straitjacket. That's what it seems as though. Mm-hmm. And when someone like him can get elected, it's scary.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a very vocal activist. He's been arrested several times demonstrating.
And then he beat up his girlfriend, assaulted
there was a domestic dispute, and this is who people rallied around.
Well, this is it, and that shows you had Eric Ulrich, the guy who was the city councilman.
He came in with 19%, so he came in second place, not too far off.
He lost, Carlo.
But it's
Carlo. He lost.
But
Stop it.
It was a special election. There's going to be another
special for what? It's over.
No, there's going to be another one in November.
Yeah, general, and he's a Republican. What shot do you think he has? About as much shot as me making mayor. Okay?
I don't know. I think he might actually.
Carlo, I think
he won Staten Island. He won Queens.
Carlo, don't smoke pot, because your brain will friggin' shrivel.
Well, that's what Jumaane Williams wants, to legalize marijuana, and so do a lot of other state
then in my old borough where I grew up in Queens, Forest Hills High School, the principal says, he thinks it's fine for the students to go outside of the school and smoke pot and then come back into school. This is what we're doing. That's all right. First of all, I'm for the legalization of pot, but at a certain age. But that's like saying, you could go out to the bar on the weekend, on the lunchtime, and have a couple of cocktails before you go to school. Same difference, right?
It's crazy. I don't know why someone would say that, especially an educator that's dealing with developing minds.
Well, we all know if you keep doing something, if it numbs your brain, eventually you're going to kill those little things in your brain, those cell things, and before you know it, you ain't got to have no cells, and you'll be sitting there going 1, 6, 9. You're not going to be able to think too much. Right. Do you like pot, Carlo?
Personally, no.
Have you ever tried it?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't like it. I tried it once. There's nothing there. I like to have a drink now and then, but you want to know something? Even that's starting to bother me now at my age. If you drink, then all of a sudden you have problems with your urination at night. I mean, all these things come into play. People have to realize when you're overabundant something, when you to overcharge yourself over with something. Moderation is
So moderation is the word of the day. We're talking about it on
with
all
everything,
fronts. Right.
with politics, moderation, with your pot usage, moderation, my drinking, moderation, and that's the word of the day, moderation. And I think if there was more moderation in government, but just look at this hearing that they had yesterday with Cohen. We had all of America wasting their time. There are so many other important issues.
It's really crazy because when you look at what's going on in the world, like we talked about Venezuela. In Venezuela, there is a democratically elected guy who is trying to get power, and he's trying to get support from other countries. He's got support from Colombia. He's got support from Brazil.
Yeah,
he's
and
trying
America.
And America, and he's trying to take over the guy who's in there now, Maduro. And, it's really not talked about. We're just talking about stupid things.
My problem.
India and Pakistan, there might be a nuclear war.
Well, my problem is what with Maduro there. A lot of people don't know the Chinese are sniffing around, Russia's sniffing around. I mean, they're saying to themselves, well, they don't want us to get involved with Ukraine. Now, why with the peninsula there? Why are we getting involved with Venezuela? I mean, it has some reasonable sound to it, even though we support democracy. Certainly, Russia doesn't support democracy. My friend Putin there, I mean, they love him, but he took a country. You don't remember. Russia went into the toilet bowl,
right,
literally.
Under Yeltsin.
And let me tell you, Putin was at the right place at the right time. He brought back an semblance of nationalism. The greatest speech so far was Donald Trump when he gave that State of the Union address. I thought it was spectacular. If he could have just capitalized off that and kept that professionalism, that presidency, being the president. And I call upon him, and I just hope that he understands there's still time to change. There's always time to change. If you're doing something wrong, don't keep putting your hand on the stove burning it. Change a little bit. If people hate certain things, you know what I implore the president to do? If he makes a mistake, say, I'm sorry and I was wrong. That's all you got to do. Show a human part of you. People like that. People like that. Donald could do it. Donald Trump could do it. That's all he's got to do. And say, you know what, I was wrong about this. I was wrong about that. Show a human factor. Don't be so cut and dry. My father was born in Germany.
Right.
My father just had no personality. Used to beat the living hell out of me all the time, put the belt buckle and all that. And I can't remember when he kissed me and hugged me. My mother did, but he was very cold, very hard. But at the end, when he was getting sick, I could see there was some assemblies of warmth in him. But as he got older and he started to realize, then when I used to ask him, Dad, how come he used to beat me with that strap all the time? First you go, I never did that. He tried to forget it. But then when I would talk to it, I would see like a little glimmer of a tear in his eyes because he was probably remembering what he did and he didn't. But back then, that was acceptable. Mm-hmm. It wasn't child abuse. That's from the European families. When they came to America, you looked at your mother wrong, you talked back, you got smacked, you got beat up. But that was acceptable. Now, political correctness, you can't do that. So
it just shows how things change over time and attitudes change over time.
Even stuff that we talked about. I had Curtis on the show, and Curtis Lewa last week, and we talked about growing up and what we did. I mean, it was acceptable then. A lot of things are not acceptable, and you have to change with the time.
You grow and learn as things change.
And I mean, look, I learned a lot of things. I learned some of the things that I've said in my life hurt people, and certainly I don't want to hurt people, and I don't want to judge a person for who or what color skin or where he come from. I want to judge a person by his compassion or her compassion, his love. A person is a person, not a color. And not a person from a country. It's a person, and you treat that person the way you want to be treated. So
I mean, it's another message that seems to get lost in politics when a lot of people just want to have an identity. They want to be, I'm a Republican, I'm this, I'm that, and they just line up and agree with whatever the other people on that team think is right, which is wrong. What we're saying is that you have to judge each person and just each issue as it comes.
Well, politics. Politics is a very, very difficult thing, because if you're an honest person, you're not going to make it, because people want to hear things that you're not going to be able to fulfill. And then if you're a trustworthy person, you'll promise people certain things that you can't deliver. And then the backstabbing. Oh, my God. When I ran for mayor, more people stabbed me in the back, and with the unions and this, and everyone's worrying about, oh, if you do this, you're going to have that problem. So it's a balancing act. It's a real balancing act.
Right. It's moderation. It's hard to strike that balance.
Yeah.
So let's talk about something that's going on in New York, and it's actually going on in the NYPD. The New York Court of Appeals determined that the body cam footage that all NYPD officers are now required to wear these body cams, that this footage can be released to the public without any review. So do you think, I think that's going to be a real...
to me, the problem's going to be, what part is used by the liberal news media. They could cut it in where the officer gets assaulted by something, and then the officer's using necessary force, trying to handcuff somebody, maybe whacking him a couple of times, and that's the cut that they're going to use on the news to provoke people for anger against cops again. It's a stupid thing, because if it's not going to be used in its entirety, then don't use it at all. Don't selectively show certain parts of it, because I know one thing. I've seen a lot of video, even with the Gardner thing in Staten Island. It shows the video of the officer grabbing him in the headlock, bringing him to the ground, and then when he's laying on the ground, at that point, he's saying he can't breathe, and that became the catalyst about that the cop supposedly chokehold him to death. And like on other shows, I've used that maneuver dozens of times. Nobody died. People don't realize, and I talked to Dr. Bodden, he died of cardiac arrest. The cardiac arrest came from, he had acute asthma, and that was the part of I can't breathe. When you have asthma, it closes up, and if you don't get some relief of that, that could precipitate cardiac arrest. He was known to have severe diabetes, coronary heart problems, which his own daughter, 27 years of age, died of a heart attack. So this is a hereditary thing. To blame that cop that he intentionally wanted him to die is ludicrous, ridiculous, and that's my problem with a lot of things.
It even happens more recently. Around Christmas time, there was a video release of an officer having an altercation with some homeless people in a subway.
Yeah.
And when the first video came out, it just showed this officer, beating up these homeless guys.
Right.
It didn't show the full video of he was being assaulted by 5 different guys.
Right. He surrounded him.
And he didn't even, he was very disciplined, and he
if they took
the situation without using a firearm or anything like
that.
Right.
He was a real hero, that cop. But imagine if they took that and they sliced up the guy whacking away with his little stick.
That's the first video that did come out, was that.
Excuse me. Yeah, this is a perfect example where this is a stupid law, and the police department have to realize, now we're going to have more problems, but the checks and balances against the cops, you have state special prosecutor, city investigation, internal affairs. Today you're a cop out there, you're being judged by 5 different agencies, and you can't do anything right. And that's why a lot of the majority cops tell me, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to get involved. So is crime really that low?
It's a stressful job as it is, and now you're adding another stress of having anything you do going to be released to the media.
Yeah, why? Because I'll tell you something right now. If you had video cameras of when I was a cop and a detective, I would have a little problem. But in reality, Carlo, I never killed nobody. I was hospitalized, fractured skull, stabbed, shot at, all that. But in reality, if they had those video cameras, that they took second half of it, didn't look very good. It wouldn't look very good for me.
Right.
And thank the good Lord that statute of limitations all over. Whatever I did was a different time in the 70s and 80s, and the cops of today can't be one tough cop, Bo Dietl.
Right. So with that, let's go to audience questions. I have a question that relates to your police career. This is from Frank from Chicago. He writes, I really like the Joe Sanchez podcast. I would love to hear more from retired cops. These stories are priceless. Do you have any good stories about catching a criminal when they didn't expect it, i.e. the dumbest criminal you ever caught?
Oh, yeah. Well, the one that's really funny is we had the gangs, the 7 Immortals, the Savage Skulls up in East Harlem. So this is when street crime got terminated for the budget cut. So they put me into anti-crime in the 2-5 with Jack Freck and Tommy Collin. God rest, Tommy died. And, excuse me, Tommy was my partner with the nun rape case. But there was a case that was going on where these gang members used to extort from the Puerto Rican store owners all over East Harlem. They used to get money from, they'd break things up, threaten and all that, raping people, bad guys. So I made it my point to go after these gangs. So I got the list of the secretary, the treasurer, the vice president, and the president. And I'll never forget, the president of the one gang there, his name, I believe, was Blackwell. And Blackwell had raped a 12-year-old girl. So we had an open 61. So all of a sudden I saw some of the gang members with these Kelly green tuxedos. So I said, where you guys going? We will pull over the car. They know who we were. Oh, didn't you hear Black is getting married today? Whoa, really? Where's he getting married? On 118th Street. Oh, Blackwell's getting married today. Now, I had an open 61 for a rape.
What's a 61?
A complaint report of a rape of a 12-year-old girl. So that means I could have locked him up at any time. So now I said to Jack Freck was with me, and Jack said, "Bo, what are you gonna do?" I said, "No, let's see if we see him. You're gonna lock him up his wedding day?" I said, "Well, I mean, when he raped the 12-year-old girl, I didn't think he asked her if it was her birthday." So we waited outside of where they were in this hall on 118th Street. All of a sudden, Blackwell comes out. He's tall, about 6'4", and he comes out and he had this top hat on, like Abraham Lincoln, with a Kelly green tuxedo. So all of a sudden, they're doing cocaine. They're snorting cocaine.
Right in the open.
Yeah, so I come out of the car. I start walking over, and I go, "Blackwell, I'm placing you under arrest." He goes, "Man, you can't do that, mother effer. This is my wedding day." I said, "Put your hands behind your back." I said, "You're under arrest for rape." So now all of a sudden his gang members, Jack pulls out his gun, I pull out my gun. We tell him, "Back off." And we cuff him. We throw him into the car. People coming out, running out of the hall. They're throwing things at the car. I raced into the 2-5, and we had a garage underneath. I go underneath the garage in the station house, and there was a riot outside going on. So I bring him before, Sergeant Edwards was there, and I bring him before the desk. I made sure I put his hat on. So he looked like Abraham Lincoln, and he's cuffed with his Kelly green tuxedo. And the sergeant says, "Dale, what do you got?" I said, "I got for rape here, 61 so-and-so, the number and all that, rape of a 12-year-old girl." He goes, "Bo, you locked him up on his wedding day?" All of a sudden, I get a call, Captain Fortunato, and there was a riot occurring outside. All the people of the party stormed the precinct. People breaking windows on cars. There. Captain calls it, "Deedle, what'd you do?" I said, "I locked the guy up on a rape on his wedding day." I says, "Well, look it, he was there. He was doing coke, and I locked him up." It was just so funny. I bring him downtown. You used to have to arraign your prisoners. I made sure he wore his top hat all the time, and it was just funny. That to me was one of the funniest things. No one believed. I said, "Well, look it. When he raped the girl, he didn't ask what day it was. So
Right.
you commit a crime, you're gonna get locked up, and
No matter what day it
take
is.
him down. It could be your wedding day, but when Bo was out there, you go bye-bye."
That's right. Bye-bye, dickhead. So this last question, Anthony from Jersey. He writes, "I'm a big fan of the podcast and Bo. In the past, when I was working near Penn Plaza, I had a couple chances to quickly exchange pleasantries with him. My question to Bo is, as someone that's got caught up taking acting classes with no direction on the business end, like actually how to land a role on TV or film, how does a regular guy like me get a shot to audition for TV and film? How did you do it?"
Well, I'm just what's that word with a T? When you keep going at it.
Tenacious?
Tenacious. That's why I got you, Carl. You know those big words. You went to college, right, Carl?
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't go to college. I had to work. I had to work as an iron worker, laborer, so I couldn't go to college. So you do the big words, I'll do the meanings, okay? The fact is, acting is probably one of the hardest professions. You have 1 million actors in California, and the percentage of great actors, and a lot of them are great, they'll never get that opportunity. You got to push, and timing's very important. Like today, I picked up the paper today, and I saw they're going to do the Sopranos remake. And David Chase, I was supposed to be in the Sopranos one show. I never went on it. So I sent a little note over to him. And we have what about my reel? Do you have the reel together? Is
Yeah,
it
we have
finished?
it. Yep.
It's finished, all finished. So you'll send that reel. So I sent a little thing over to Mr. Chase, and who knows? But it's all about being involved. You know, you got to keep going at, and timing. Timing is so. If they're looking for someone, your timing is very important. Just keep going at it. Just keep working at it. Sometimes you're gonna don't get depressed. Just keep going at it. Look at hold on 1 second, please. Look at my friend Sylvester Stallone. He had this thing in his mind about Rocky, and he wanted to do this movie Rocky, and they said, well, we're going to have another actor do it. We're going to change it around. He goes, no, I'm not going to do it. He waited. He waited. He wanted to be Rocky. He played it, and I don't think anybody could have played it better. And in reality, he waited, and he finally got the break that he was looking for. Now, with that said, how many people is that going to happen to? Not a lot. Acting is a great profession, but the amount of people that really become successful in it, that they could pay their insurance and all that, very minimal. Very minimal. It's just a tough thing. I wish that I could tell people, you know, the way I'm just one lucky guy. I get parts like nothing. I don't even have an agent or a manager. I know everybody, and I guess the work that I do looks good because, you know, when I act, you know, I act like myself. Whatever the part is, I become that part. And I learned how to act from watching professional actors. When I casted with Marty Bregman, Carlito's Way, and a lot of movies, The Bone Collector, you could see people who knew how to act. So I kind of watched them, and that's how I learned how to act, was watching professional actors. Then if someone wasn't a professional, like you, Carlo, if you would try to get a part, and you would be there and you'd be casting, you'd be going, I told you yesterday not to come.
It's not natural.
Very unnatural. And you right away. So in reality, if you want to be a good actor, watch a lot of movies. Watch what the actors do and learn facial expressions. Pick your nose, pick your ear, all these little things that you do, and normally scratch your head. You know, whatever you do, you make facial expression. Anger means you could quiver with your lip when you're mad. Like, you know, you could quiver, and you could show anger or love. You could show love. I'm not looking at you lovey, you know what I'm saying?
No, but you're just acting.
Yeah, I'm acting, and you could show love, and that's the difference between a good actor and just someone who wants to be an actor.
So do you think it's something you could learn in classes, or should Anthony stop?
I never went to classes, but I would recommend acting classes as a foundation. But once you do that, the more you look, the more you learn, and learn from watching movies, man. Look at, you know, we talk about the Academy Awards. My little friend there,
that was recently,
Spike Jones Lee, whatever his name is, right? You know, I mean, that was very bad as far as I'm concerned. He had that guy, Jordan Pell was sitting there, and he didn't win the Best Director. Calm down already. That was it was okay movie. The Black Klansman was okay. But I really believe, I like that Star is Born. I thought the acting was great, and the way the cameras were, and it was great. And you know what? That other one that was horrific was Roma. Nobody saw it. Nobody saw it.
On Netflix.
They put, I think, $100 million into advertising it all over the place. Black and white with subtitles. She could be saying anything. I don't know what the hell she's saying. How can you, best picture of the year? You don't know how they're acting. I don't know what she's saying. And that was wrong because no one saw that movie. But they tried to make they tried to buy an Oscar. Yeah. And that's exactly it. That pisses me off. In reality, that won the best foreign film. That's what it should be. Best foreign film. End of story. Let's not go over the top with the baloney, all right? And then we know the big movie coming out. The big
Irishman. One. They had a trailer for it in the Oscars.
The Irishman's coming out, and so I know somebody who got a nice big role in there playing opposite Pacino. Matter of fact, he's their boss. And I am so excited. The Irishman is one of the movies that Mr. Scorsese gave me a beautiful role, and I'm very excited about it. I'm so excited about being part of Goodfellas, being part of The Irishman, Wolf of Wall Street. I mean, a person's life as an actor, you would give up their arm to play opposite Pacino and De Niro, two of the greatest actors of all. And I thank Mr. Scorsese every day for giving me the opportunity. And I just heard little birdies tell me that he was very, very happy with my performance. When Martin Scorsese's happy with an actor's performance,
That's better than an Oscar.
that's it. That's better than an Oscar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we covered a lot today. Thank you to everyone that wrote in. We'll keep the questions coming. You can email all your questions and comments to onetoughpodcast@gmail.com. We read them all. So, send anything in and we'll try to cover it on the next episode. Stay tuned. We'll be back here at Hackensack Meridian Health Stage 17 with some big guests next couple months. So just take a peek at our Twitter. We're at One Tough Podcast, and that'll be where all the announcements are, and you can see what guests are upcoming. And, just stay tuned, and thanks for listening.
Thank you, Carlo.
All right, we'll see you next week.
See you next week.